Welcome to the show.
Fellas, happy to be on and happy to talk Cougars.
Man, it's been a while. 5 years since BYU's really been in the conversation, and they have burst onto the scene, obviously, with Mark Pope. BYU, 9 in the latest net rankings, 10 in KenPom. You've got them listed as a 6 seed. I think people want to know, if their numbers are so good in net and KenPom, why do you have them as a 6 seed, Joe?
They were a 6 seed in the current bracket because of bracketing rules. There are 5 on our seed list at the moment, number 18 to be exact, which doesn't, completely answer the question of why not better. But let's remember that those rankings are not the be-all and end-all of this process. The committee's taking everything into account, and they're aggregating a lot of metrics, looking at a lot of numbers, as I am. And I have kind of a numeric index for all this, and that's where they fall right now. I do think they could get into a top 4 seed with a WCC championship coming up here in a week in Las Vegas, but I'm pretty comfortable with their slot at the moment.
Joe, one of the things that makes BYU unique in terms of seeding is because of the no Sunday play. When it all comes down to it, how much do you think the fact that BYU does not play on Sunday, how much does that affect the seeding as to where they go?
Well, I wouldn't use the word unique. I would use a word, that maybe rhymes with pain in the grass. And I say that with all due respect to the rule. Like, great school, great tradition. They're entitled to make whatever rule they want. But, the fact of the matter is it eliminates half of the possibilities in each round of the tournament. So we know they're going to be in the West region or the Midwest, period. Based upon their seed, let's say they are a 5, right? Well, let's say that the 2 5 seeds in a given bracket configuration are both slotted with 4s that have been given Friday, Sunday, first weekend sites. Well, that by definition then means BYU can't be a 5. So, I guess the committee can move them up or down. My opinion is they should always be moved down, because to move them up is to disadvantage another team that doesn't have that rule. So, call me crazy, but I think if the school is going to be disadvantaged because of the no Sunday play restriction, it should be the one who enforces that rule. Having said that, it really shouldn't be more than 1 seed line in any reasonable set of bracketing hypotheticals. And now, let's say they win the WCC and they're between a 4 and a 5, or even better. But let's say 4 and a 5. Well, you're talking about playing a 12 instead of a 13, and then hypothetically getting into a 4-5 game in the round of 32. And in that, you're only talking about who wears dark jerseys, right? Because you're playing the same team you would, whether you're the 4 and they're the 5, or vice versa.
Right.
I think it's more of an issue when you're down in the 10, 11, and 12, or heaven forbid, as was the case a couple times years ago, you're slotted in that Dayton situation, because then you can only play on the Tuesday to feed a Thursday, Saturday site. And that's problematic in a lot of ways. A, again, it cuts your options in half. And B, you got to get from Provo to Dayton, and play 48 hours after the bracket comes out. And I know a lot of coaches are not too wild about that, nor should they be.
ESPN bracketologist Joe Lunardi with us on BYU Sports Nation. First and foremost, Joe, let me thank you for going through the headache of seeding BYU and pushing through it because BYU fans are very excited to be in the bracket regardless. You already gave us what you think might be the best case scenario for the Cougars if they beat Saint Mary's and Gonzaga on back-to-back nights and they win the West Coast Conference tournament title, then they would be maybe a 4 seed. What's the worst case scenario for BYU at this point, who seems like a lock in the tourney?
Oh, they're absolutely a lock. And I would say, unless the committee really misses on them, they should be far enough away from really the only negative scenario, and that would be to be in an 8-9 game, right? Because nobody wants that. Because if you win, your chances aren't that great of advancing, obviously, because you play a 1 seed. Now, 1 seeds don't win every time in the round of 32, but they are 1 seeds for a reason. And most people would rather even be a 10 or an 11 and take their chances in the first round than avoid that 8-9 spot. So I would say I can't imagine them being worse than a 7, but let's say they lose in the semifinals and it drops them from a 5 to a 6. That would be the worst I would see. And in a way, the way the WCC brackets its postseason tournament is really helping BYU at this point, because unless someone upsets Saint Mary's in the quarterfinals, they can't take a bad loss at this point, right? Like the only teams they can lose to are Saint Mary's and Gonzaga.
Absolutely.
They can't lose to San Diego or Loyola Marymount or whomever. I mean, I guess they could lose to an upset winner over St. Mary's, and I haven't looked, as to who that could be. But let's just assume that's not going to happen.
Still,
because I got to sleep sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. So, assuming that the 3 teams, so you have BYU, St. Mary's, and Gonzaga on Monday, WCC a lock to get 3 bids into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I believe they are. I believe the only way St. Mary's could even be in any trouble would be to lose to somebody not named BYU or Gonzaga. Now, I know they're going to sweat it out because St. Mary's has seen this movie before, and generally he did well for them as a bubble team, but they scheduled way, way better this year. And they won some of those non-league games, Wisconsin, Utah State, Arizona State. And they did get the 1 win, over the top 2 teams in the league, that overtime game against BYU. I was at that game, actually. And it was that I went up to Mark Pope, and, he was crestfallen. And I said, this in no way knocks you out. I said, you're going to be in. And, at that time, it looked more like a bubble situation. But getting healthy, playing well, beating the Zags in that epic game a couple of weeks ago, I've said along, I just think BYU has great pieces. And they got a lot of shot makers and older guys who aren't afraid. I absolutely think they're good enough to play in the second weekend.
Joe, it's great to talk to you. We appreciate the time amidst your busy schedule, and we wish you many solid hours of sleep whenever you can get them.
Well, that'll be in April.
Thanks, Joe.
See you later.